Hello YouTube, Time Itself here, and I've got some Homefront for you today. This is on my first night of play, so I'm still getting used to everything and still leveling up. I am going to get into some of the gameplay, but first there's another topic that I'd like to talk about first. Now, really what made me think about this was a little menu that popped up when I went to go play on Xbox Live for the first time. And it says something like, redeem the included code if you want to get past level 5 in multiplayer. Kind of a dick thing to do, honestly, and it's probably not going to end up affecting me. I rarely sell games back, but my real complaint here is that they decided to advertise that there was free stuff for my avatar on the outside of the box and not that there was a required code to get past level 5 in multiplayer. The code actually functions as a free DLC download, which is what level 5 past multiplayer is. Anyway, I'm not here to complain about that, but rather talk about how I think this affects the multiplayer lifespan of the game. And I really think that's a fair term, the multiplayer lifespan. This is what do people talk about when there's no one on the servers? They're dead. And the real question is, how long do we have to wait for Homefront multiplayer to be dead? Well, let's see. Halo 2, 2004, they shut off the servers last year. That was somewhere around 6 years. Let's see, I'd been on a game that was released in 2006 a couple days ago, and while the server itself was going reasonably well, the particular game mode I wanted probably was only available for a couple hours a day when the American and European communities were both online. Otherwise, you just couldn't start a game, there weren't enough people. Last I checked, Call of Duty 4 was going reasonably strong, though the Zergriz wannabe sniper is kind of a strange mold on all the walls that you really can't get rid of anymore. But still, if you want to play the game, you can. Oh, so quick comment about the gameplay. There are two guys who line up here, and even though it looks like I'm doing nothing, I actually do kill one of them. You just see the ticker go by, and I miss the other one as he manages to hide behind the rock. And so, here we are, a couple days after release, and the question kind of is, how long is the community going to keep Homefront alive? Especially as a multiplayer-centered game, is at some point you just lose that critical mass to where people can no longer easily find games and they just stop trying. From there, it's obvious that it's a pretty quick slide downhill to a dead game. No, it's not quite that simple. The period of time when you can't find a game, which is late at night on a weekday, to when you can, afternoons on weekdays or middle of the day on weekends, the time that you can't get a game gets longer and longer until eventually there's just no chance to get a game anymore. But I digress. Is having this code going to mean that fewer people are going to be on this game? And in the short term, I don't think it matters at all. I don't think anyone would argue that. Yeah, the value of the game is somewhat less because you can't resell multiplayer or whatever. If you're going to get this game early and pay full price so that you can play it with your friends, you're going to go ahead and do it probably. And in that first, I don't know, 6 months or so, when the used copies cost almost as much as the new copies, I don't know if it really makes much of a difference. I mean, you know, if you got the choice between two nearly identical things and one's a little bit cheaper, why not? But if you've already decided to buy the game, well, it probably doesn't matter. More likely is that the game gets discounted because, well, you remember World at War went down to $40 in just a couple weeks. Who knows what'll happen to this game? And then out all the way at a year. Well, it's entirely conceivable that this game could be dead by then, in which case multiplayer is essentially worthless. I'm not saying that necessarily will happen, but there are plenty of multiplayer games out there that a year later, good luck finding a game. Now, if that's the case for a multiplayer-centered game like Homefront, good luck selling anything, new, used, or DLC or otherwise. It's not going to matter. So in regards to this DLC requirement for multiplayer past level 5, I think the question is, does it keep the servers from maintaining that critical mass necessary to keep lots of people playing? There are two parts of that. One, it's really annoying to type in that damn code with the 360 controller. And then you have to go back to the dashboard to download it. It's kind of silly, but anyway, whatever. And then there's the very obvious issue of money. Obviously, the publisher, by doing the DLC thing, is trying to take money away from the shops that resell used games. As an end consumer, I'm not sure which method ends up costing us more, especially as the life cycle of the game goes on. While something akin to artificial scarcity is certainly a concern, if the publisher is really aggressive about trying to get people online by discounting the game, I think they can do that. Who knows, it could work out to be a little bit cheaper for especially the people picking up the game later. Yes, that's probably overly optimistic. But as I see it, the publisher's major concern is keeping enough people in the multiplayer that it's still possible to actually play it and have fun with lots of different people online. Because once there aren't people to play with, the game isn't worth anything. Alright, well, that's enough of that for now. Let's go ahead and talk about some of the gameplay as I wildly fire into my teammates' back. I still don't quite associate the name tags above the bodies quite right, and kind of lose track of who's who. You'll see me fire at friendlies quite a few times in this game. Well, many thanks to the guy who marked that target I just took out. It can be pretty hard to tell exactly how far away the marked guy is, so the only thing I've figured out so far is just to see how fast they're moving around you, and as the faster they're moving, probably the closer they are. You probably didn't notice it, but there's a guy back here who's shooting. I have to assume he's a sniper. Normally, I probably would have ran back here sooner, but when a dot shows up on the edge of the map, especially because I don't know the maps really well yet, I'm not quite sure if that's an enemy or just the out-of-bounds zone. Especially when it clips over just a little corner of the map, it's really hard to tell the difference. So I am going to go ahead and speed up some of the slower parts of this game, especially as I'm running around here trying to find people. I assume this map is made for the 16-on-16 games, but well, this is just a 5-on-5, so they've given us 20 minutes to get 90 kills. Obviously, they kind of expect this game could be a little bit slower than Call of Duty, because this map is pretty large. But that's one of the things that I think they've done a good job of kind of changing up, is with these marking people. It only lasts a couple seconds, but it does give you a good idea where your targets are and where you need to be looking for people. Even if, like here, can't see where these people actually are, but I know they're back there, and I know this is the direction I need to head to get into the action. Makes for an interesting team role is to have someone whose sole job is just to fly around and mark people, picking up assists. 20 plus assists a game isn't that hard when you're doing that, and it's an important role for the team, so kind of an interesting development as far as I see it. One of the questions I would really like to ask the game developers here is if they pretty much left out bullet penetration intentionally, or if it has something to do with their larger game mechanics. I, for one, know that I would be spraying at any marked target through any number of surfaces if there was actually bullet penetration in this game. I assume that might be a reason why they didn't include it, or they could just be really lazy. Spray this guy, and then here a target gets called. Someone says he's climbing up the ladder to the sun. I'm like, well, I've got a sniper rifle, I'll take a shot at that. I'm not sure if I hit a leaf there, but somebody got him. No assist for me, though. But as you notice there's essentially no recoil on the sniper rifle. I can pull the trigger pretty fast on it too, as we're going to see here in a minute, around the corner, and oh god, freak out, unload the clip, and oh, okay. So I think the quickscopers are rather going to enjoy this game. You also notice the scope comes up pretty quickly, even if it is 2 body shots to kill. Not sure how much bullet penetration there is through bodies yet. Had some shots that I thought should have taken multiple people, but didn't. That's just something I should test, I guess. One more thing I should note is that there is no reload cancel in this game. In case you haven't run into this yet and you're playing this game, if you sprint or anything, or try to shoot, or swap your guns, which is what I end up doing later, it completely cancels your reload and you have to start over again. And like Call of Duty, if you empty the gun, it takes longer to reload than if you hadn't emptied the gun or you still had a bullet in the chamber. So gameplay. What about gameplay? Well, there are obviously a lot of comparisons to Call of Duty games. This is a rather similar game in a lot of respects, though it certainly is its own game. Still, it continues to cement the idea that for cover-based first-person shooters, Call of Duty is really the definitive game, at least for the last several years. And as far as I see it, as gameplay mechanics go, the rewarding people for getting kills or getting kill streaks or whatever, it's developed a fair amount over the last couple of years to score points, and in this case battle points that you can spend in-game. But that idea that doing well in the game should reward you more than just having done well. Now, Black Ops had taken the approach that kill streaks didn't stack, and as much as possible, this game seems to have gone in the other direction, because your kill streaks get you more battle points, which you can use to get more stuff. Not actually kill streaks, but if you find yourself without any battle points to buy some stuff to take out the other team's vehicles or whatnot, you are in a lot of trouble. So in this way, you can absolutely roll a team. Kind of scary, actually. I'd like to say a little bit more about gameplay, but I really don't feel like I can because of the central issue with this game right now, and that is the multiplayer servers are absolutely full, and the result is that games tend to be laggy and very difficult to get into. This was only one of 2 or 3 games that I managed to get all night that wasn't either ended early or atrociously laggy. I know they're working on that, and I'm not here to harp on it, but it does make it hard to say anything about the game, especially when I don't have much time in it at all yet. Honestly, I still don't have a very good feel for how many bullets it takes to kill someone with the various assault rifles, submachine guns, and light machine guns. The sniper rifles are a little easier to figure out, but whatever. I'd seen quite a few comments about the graphics in this game, and I've been pretty happy with them. The general color palette seems to be somewhere between the Treyarch's more muted tones and a little bit brighter Infinity Ward ones, but I think the central issue people are picking up on is that you're usually shooting targets from much further away, and so instead of having something that's easy to see and pick out, and you really see some details on the characters you're shooting at, you're just trying to hit a little glob of pixels that you can tell is moving, and I think that's the real difference. The lighting is a bit stronger. The difference between where the sun hits directly on something and what's behind in the shadows is much more pronounced, especially the lens flare is kind of odd at some points, but I guess those are just artistic choices, and so far they really haven't gotten in the way, so I'm not really going to complain about them. 2 other things that I noticed, and they may be related, I kind of think they are, is that in the Crisis demo, your character kind of bobbed up and down as you ran, and this game feels like it does the same thing. And while I've got a pretty good monitor, it can ghost a little bit, and things aren't quite as sharp as they otherwise might be, whereas in a Call of Duty game, or I'm pretty sure Halo 2, though it's been a while since I played, everything moves at the same speed, and so it's easy to tell you're almost like this mobile weapons platform as you cruise around the map on your hovercraft feet that you can't see. Or wait, can you see your feet in this game? I need to go check that later. Anyway, the thing that I noticed in this game is that if I step through frame by frame, only part of the screen is getting refreshed at any given time, and so especially if I turn quickly left or right, because it normally goes vertically, what looks like should be a vertical line is actually split in half. Here, I'll give you an example. So, just something to get used to, I guess. I'm not sure how it will affect the YouTube upload, if that will be obvious or not. I really doubt it, though, so I'm not too worried about it. Oh, one more thing about the gameplay. Frag grenades are pretty effective. They're obviously going to take some getting used to as they throw differently in just about every single game. Thing is, I've got 4, and I'm going to throw them all up there and not even get an assist. You can cook them, you can kill yourself with them, but the fuse time is a little bit shorter than Call of Duty frag grenades that I gotten used to. Anyway, I end up going 29-4, 1 more death right here at the very end. Oh, and a quick question in case anybody happens to know, I'm really curious. When you parachute in, as you respawn, you can see all your teammates' names and all the enemy names over their heads. Can you see enemies' names who have Ghost on? At any rate, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video.